The movie begins with us being introduced to Pi Patel, a fascinating middle-aged man who resides in Canada. One day, a young writer approaches him, eager to learn more about his life story. Initially hesitant, Pi eventually opens up and starts recounting his incredible journey. In a flashback, we see that Pi's parents named him after a swimming pool in France, Piscine Molitor. However, the name doesn't sit well with his classmates in Pondicherry Secondary School, who ridicule him by calling him Piscine Patel. To escape their teasing, Pi adopts the nickname Pi after the mathematical constant that starts with 3.14 and goes on forever. Pi's remarkable talent for memorizing and reciting numbers becomes apparent one day when he astounds his classmates and professors by flawlessly reciting pi to the 100th digit. From that day on, Pi becomes a legend at his school, gaining the admiration and respect of his peers. Pi's upbringing is marked by a unique blend of spirituality, science, and a deep love for animals. Raised in a Hindu household, Pi's curiosity leads him to explore other religions like Christianity and Islam, much to the support of his open-minded mother. However, his father, a practical man of science, dismisses religion as a source of darkness and advocates a more rational approach to life. Despite their differences, Pi's parents instill in him a deep sense of respect for all living creatures, and he spends much of his childhood watching and caring for the animals in his father's zoo. It is revealed that his father owns a zoo, while his mother is a botanist. Pi is particularly intrigued by a Bengal tiger named Richard Parker, whose majestic presence captivates him. He feels an inexplicable connection with the tiger and believes that with kindness, wild animals can become great companions to humans. One day, Pi tries to feed Richard Parker with his hand, but his father catches him and sternly rebukes him for getting too close to such a dangerous animal. Later, Pi is traumatized when he witnesses the tiger devouring a goat his father had tied in front of it as a lesson. This experience shatters Pi's illusions of wild animals as friendly companions, and he accepts that such animals can never be tamed or domesticated. Despite this, his love and fascination for animals remain, and he continues to care for them with great respect and admiration. The scene then shifts to a few years later, when Pi is now 16 years old. He spends most of his free time reading novels and studying philosophy to understand the meaning of life. One day he meets a girl named Anandi, and they quickly become friends. Pi is eager to share his passion for animals with her and takes her to the zoo to meet Richard Parker. However, Pi's happiness is short-lived as his father informs the family that they must leave India due to the economic downturn. He wants to sell the animals and settle in Canada. Pi is devastated by the sudden decision, but he feels powerless to stop his family's decision. Days later, Pi says his final goodbye to Anandi and boards a Japanese freighter with his family. Pi and his mother are vegetarians, so they order vegetarian meals for supper, but the chef still serves them meat. His mother insists on her preferred option, but the chef refuses. Pi's father, furious by the chef's bad attitude, engages in a heated argument with him. However, another passenger then arrives and offers them his meal. After that, Pi's father gives medication to the animals. He explains that he is doing this because sea travel is difficult for all creatures. They can't take it and they get ill and vomit, therefore it's best to make them faint. Later, the ship reaches the Mariana Trench and Pi awakens due to the sounds of the storm. He first enjoys the rain but quickly discovers that the water has entered the ship. He then tries to reach his family, but there appears to be water everywhere. He immediately runs up to where the others are and asks them to save his family, but they all seem to be busy getting the lifeboats ready. Just then, one of the crew members hands him a life vest and requests that he leave. However, Pi declares that he wants to find his family and will not go without them. Because of the heavy storm, he is pushed by the crew into the boat. When a zebra jumps down to the same lifeboat, the rope snaps, and the lifeboat is pushed further and further away by the enormous waves. Pi then shouts desperately as he stares at the sinking cargo ship. After a while, the ship, unfortunately sinks into the Mariana Trench. Pi is devastated by the sight, but he doesn't have the time to mourn. Right then, he notices someone swimming towards him and goes to help, only to discover that it is Richard Parker. Horrified by the deadly tiger, he swims into the sea to escape him, but quickly realizes that he has no choice but to return to the lifeboat. The following morning, Pi discovers himself in the lifeboat alongside the hurt zebra. They are soon joined by an orangutan who has managed to survive by clinging to floating bananas. Later, a spotted hyena appears from the canvas covering half of the lifeboat and snaps at Pi, causing him to retreat to the boat's stern. The hyena then attacks the zebra and kills it brutally, right in front of the other scared animals. Pi discovers a survival guide, as well as numerous life jackets and supplies. He then crafts a basic raft out of the jackets and oars. With a sense of renewed hope, Pi sets out on his raft, determined to find a way back to civilization. However, his peace is short-lived when the hyena suddenly appears and attacks the orangutan, tearing into her flesh and causing her to perish. Pi is forced to watch in horror as the hyena turns its attention towards him, ready to strike. But just as the beast lunges towards him, a new ally emerges. Richard Parker, the fierce Bengal tiger from the zoo that was also on the ill-fated ship. He immediately tussles with the hyena and finishes it in seconds. Witnessing all this, Pi flees the boat and boards his raft. In the next scene, while Parker is napping, Pi slips back to the boat to get more provisions. When he notices a rat scurrying around the supplies, Parker unexpectedly awakens, so Pi feeds him with the rat and returns to his raft. As night falls, Pi finds himself consumed by memories of his past life and his family. He looks up at the stars and sees the faces of his loved ones, feeling a deep sense of loss and sadness. But he also remembers his mother's words of encouragement and draws strength from her memory. He takes out a book and a pencil and begins to write a message, pouring his heart and soul onto the page. He puts the message in one of the water cans, hoping that someone will find it and come to their rescue. Later, Pi uses the procedures outlined in the manual to forcefully shake the boat, causing Parker to experience seasickness. He tries to split the area with the tiger by peeing at first, but Parker pees all over his face. Pi has biscuits and water, but Parker is hungry and has nothing to eat. He knows that if he does not feed the tiger, he may attack him, so Pi begins fishing. Furthermore, he collects rainwater for them to drink. One day, when Parker jumps into the sea to hunt for fish to eat, Pi flees to the lifeboat. He briefly draws his raft near the boat to abandon Parker, but he cannot take the thought of the tiger dying, so he lifts the tiger to the boat and returns to his raft. Pi is alone on the vast ocean, without food or water for days. He is weak, hungry, and his spirit is low. Suddenly, a large fish catches his eye. With all his might, he reels it in and holds it close to his chest. He is both grateful and remorseful for taking a life, and so he whispers a prayer of thanks to God for sending this gift. But as he prepares to share the fish with his companion Parker, a massive whale suddenly emerges from the depths and collides with the raft, overturning it and casting all their provisions into the sea. Panic sets in as Pi realizes the dire situation they are in. The sea is vast and food is scarce, but just when all hope seems lost, a miracle happens. The next morning, a large school of fish flies into the boat and Pi catches one with his bare hands. For the first time in his life, Pi eats raw fish, and the taste is both foreign and exhilarating. He is filled with newfound energy and determination to survive. However, Pi soon realizes that survival means more than just catching fish. He has to take care of Parker, who is also his only companion and source of comfort on this perilous journey. Gradually, Pi learns to earn the tiger's trust and affection by caring for him and providing him with food and water. One day, when Pi notices a ship sailing past them, he instantly sends out a distress signal, but to no success. He is frustrated, but he refuses to give up hope. That evening, he encounters an enigmatic and incredible tornado of memory at the sea, where many animals and even his mother's face appear. Pi, however, is well aware that the cargo ship carrying his family members has been destroyed at sea. Meanwhile, he keeps a diary every day, expecting to find salvation eventually. However, he has gotten so weak that he can't tell between day and night, dream and reality. One evening during his confusion and drowsiness, a storm arrives, causing the boat to violently shake and his diary to be washed away by the wind. The lifeboat is in a sorry state, filled with water and in dire need of repair. Kneeling on the sodden canvas, Pi gives thanks to God for his saving grace. He then turns to Parker and asks him to worship God as well, but the beast is in a much worse state than Pi. Pi approaches the tiger and places his hand on its head, feeling a sense of comfort and connection with this wild animal who has become his companion. He knows that they are both in this struggle for survival together. In the next scene, the two arrive at a floating island of edible plants filled with a mangrove jungle, freshwater pools, and a big population of meerkats. Elated at the discovery, Pi and Parker eat and drink freely to regain energy. But at night, Pi discovers that something is wrong on this island. Perhaps there is a problem because the meerkats are strolling on the trees. Parker also boards the boat after noticing something weird. Pi then sees that the water has turned acidic and that the fish are rotting as a result. He discovers a fruit there and upon opening it, sees a human tooth inside. Pi then finds out that the island is carnivorous as it eats humans and animals. The following day, Pi loads his boat with fresh water and plants, as well as half a boat full of meerkats for Parker. He then whistles to the tiger, and the two climb aboard the boat and begin to sail. The island has been known to vanish when they leave, and no one has ever seen it. After a few more days, the lifeboat arrives at a Mexican coast. Finally, back on land, Parker wanders away from Pi and stops at the edge of the jungle. Pi expects the tiger to turn toward him and acknowledge him, but instead, he glances into the jungle for a few moments before entering. Pi, who is too weak to follow, just lies in the sand. He assumes that after living together for so many days that they had formed an intimate bond, but he was mistaken. Moments later, when the local villagers find him, Pi begins to cry like a kid, not because he has been rescued, but because he has lost his closest friend Parker, who was with him during the difficult period. At the hospital, insurance agents for the Japanese business that owns the ship arrive to interview him. They, however, refuse to believe his story and ask what really transpired. So Pi narrates an alternate story in which he shares the lifeboat with his mother, a Buddhist sailor with a damaged leg, and the cook, instead of animals. In this story, Pi claims that the cook killed the sailor to eat him and use him as bait. Later, Pi's mother moved him to safety on a smaller raft before the cook killed her and dumped her body overboard. Pi then seized the knife and murdered the cook and survived on his flesh until he arrived in Mexico. The insurance agents are unsatisfied with his story as well, without further interrogating him. In the present, the writer notes parallels between the two stories. The orangutan was Pi's mother, the zebra was the sailor, the hyena was the cook, and Richard Parker was Pi himself. However, Pi claims that it makes little difference which story is accurate because his family died either way, and neither version gave the insurance company the explanation they required. He asks which story the writer prefers, and the writer chooses the first one since it is the better story. Looking over a copy of the insurance report, the writer notices that the agents noted that Pi survived 227 days at sea with an adult Bengal tiger, implying that they also decided to record the initial story. And that's a wrap for this movie recap. Thanks for watching.